Okay, we've got the switches and pots and everything cleaned up. Well, not everything, but these three are cleaned up, lubricated, and cleaned on their tracking. They got a little graphites in there and some gun oil and some white lithium. Why don't they look? Don't they be pretty? So that's going to be that. The tone control. It was all taken apart. The shafts removed, the guts pulled apart and lubricated, cleaned, and they're ready. They're ready for prime time. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move to the IF cans now. When we extract the guts out of these, we'll clean up the cans real well and get them ready for prime time. The tuning cap is going in the bath this evening. So we're moving on to that. So stand by. There's going to be a whole lot more fun coming. Okay, here's the chassis all refinished and sealed. It's been curing for about a day. It is a beaut. So we're going to let that sit by while we deal with those IF cans. So hang on, we're going to have a little bit more coming to you. All right, let's get started here with the first IF can. The little keeper, brass keeper thingy on the chingadero there. You just got to take and give it a little tug and pull it through. It's spring loaded. Okay, we'll put that over there for out of the way. All right, now 2 reds and two yellows. At least they're yellow now. But if you notice, if you can still see it, one of these is the primary, the other one's the secondary. Although they do not show these or refer to these as a primary and secondary on the alignment chart. They just call the first IF A and A for the primary, A for the secondary, and on the second IF they refer to them as B for the primary and B for the secondary. Now, I'm not sure what the thought process is behind that, but as you can see here, I hope, we've got a red and a yellow, and on this one we've got a red and a yellow. Now, how in the freak can you tell which one is which? Well, going by what I've observed on other radios, the primary has always been at the bottom. Now, I don't know if these engineers decided to keep it that way or what. I haven't seen anything to the contrary, or even pro for that matter. So I'm going to go by what I would probably refer to as rule of thumb, and based on what my experiences are, that bottom coil is going to be the primary and the top one is going to be the secondary. Now, if that's the case, this one and this one are tied to the bottom one. That would make this side the primary, and this side is tied to the upper ones, and this side would be the secondary. Now, yeah, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, I was thinking that too. So what I'm going to do is, for my reference, I'm going to go P right here and take a S right there. So now this now has to jive with this. If you can see that, let me tip that down a little bit without jiggling the heck out of the planet. Here are the 4 leads coming out of the bottom. One of those red leads went to pin 3 of the A7 tube. Another one of the red leads went up here to this coil. Now, the first IF. This is gonna be a long video. I just know it, especially in my groove. On the first IF, we've got one tied to pin 3, the primary, on the A7. Well, that one makes sense. That one, I've denoted with an X. Up here, I got a legend that shows X as a primary, part of a pair for the primary. Okay, the other side of the primary, the other end, if you will, it's supposed to tie over here to the second IF, lower side of the primary coil. There's also a 1K resistor that ties with those. I'm not seeing those, but I've determined through testing that this point right here on that 3-pole, 3-terminal strip there, that this one here, which is a yellow, is the other match to this one. So that's where we get our primary. Now, if this, I call this the primary, this one here would go back and tie to 3 of the A7, and this yellow, if you will, which would be this one, would tie to that right end of that terminal strip. That would complete the primary portion of the first IF. The secondary, this red one here, this is the other red one. pay no attention to the man behind the curtain there. It was just some of my thoughts out loud that I was writing down and including it on here. A little plus there. That plus is indicating in the legend that that is one part of the pair of the secondary connections. So that would be this one here. That red one there would go off and tie it to up here on this coil. The other portion, which is normally green, a green wire, that one would be a black wire. This one here would be a green wire. It ties to the grid of the next stage. Input to the second IF. So if we come back to here, this one here would be the black. It ties up here to there, and this side here ties to grid of the K7. Grid of the K7, or pin 4. So that one there would go to pin 4 and it would be green. Well, let me say this about that. I am going to put the wiring back in according to others' standards. In other words, the top part of the primary will go to the plate of the A7 tube, and it will be blue. The other side of that primary coil is going to be red, indicating it ties to, I guess, indicating it ties to B+. Okay, now on the secondary portion of that coil, of that IF, the grid wire is going to be green, because that's the way it is everywhere else. I don't know why people want to be different. It just serves to confuse more. And believe me, I'm very confused. I was very confused. So, and the other side of that wire coming out right there is going to be black, because that's the way it is on other ones. So that way I know if that's a blue wire going to an IF trans, that's going to be primary, and it's usually from the plate of the previous stage. The red is going to indicate that it goes to a B+, and that's what this does. It comes over here and ties to a shibidaba bubudabibida. That is going through, well, it would have been going through the field coil, which is fed by B+. So I wanted to cover that first before we jump into this and start hacking on it. So when it goes back into the can, I don't have to worry about the particular orientation, since they're not worried about the particular alignment procedure, because I've heard some say, yeah, you start at the second IF and you work your way back towards the tuner. Well, other ones say, just do it. And then other ones, whatever you want to do would be fine. Well, I'm gonna do all three. Okay? So I just wanted to cover that. This is going to be lengthy. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to show you the procedure that I do in order to change these out. You're going to see it when it's back, when it's done, and because this can is going to go into that and get that in. So, thanks for hanging in for this segment. Okay, we're done with this. Yeah, excuse my horse, my frogginess. P for primary. We got a red and a blue, and S for secondary. We got a black and a green. Now, there's just one thing that I didn't cover earlier about this situation that I don't know if it makes a hill of beans or what. As you know, I always try not to sweat the small stuff, but because this butt here is liable to come back in your face, and you know, it's not the kind of butt that I would like in my face. But anyway, what I was indicating, wanting to draw attention to, was there's an innie and an outie on each coil. The inner side and the outer side, where the coil winds up being at the end of the winding. Now, the next question is, does the inner one go to the red one and the outer one go to the blue one? Or does it go the other way? We'll find out. I may have a clue in one of my Zenith 527s. I had an issue with the IF coils, both first and secondary, because if you watched that video, I indicated that they have a stud that comes through the top of the can, and there's a little 1/4-inch nut that goes on it that holds the entire coil up into the can, and I started cranking on it to remove the guts. And what I wasn't aware of is that it was spinning the whole coil tube and coils and everything, and just ripped all the wires loose from the lugs. Well, I may have a clue on that because I got that reconciled. So I'm going to refer to that and see what gives. So this segment of video has gotten really lengthy. So now we're going to move on to the secondary coil. I'm not going to give you any video on that, but it's going to be similar to this. It's just going to have an extra wire in it and maybe a resistor that will need to be checked. One other thing I noticed here. You see that green dot on the end of that tube? I'm not sure what that's indicating. I would guess that maybe the green dot is indicating, well, that's the end that's going to go down, or the opposite end of where the tube is going to be attached. Or maybe they just didn't pay any attention to the doggone green dot and put it in any way they did. I'll have to check the other one. I looked at the other one to see whether or not there was an indication on the end of that, and I don't see any colored dots on the thing. So I'm not really sure what the heck the indication is on that. Now I know on some coils, like oscillator coils and antenna coils, they put an indexing mark on them so that you can know which lug is a designate. So we'll find out. I'm sure if something happens, you'll know about it. I'll be shrieking like a little girl. Okay, that's all I wanted to cover. Thanks for watching this segment.